this is a blunt question and not very measured, but are we still in an economic and political competition with China, or is this another form of a Cold War?
Um, I think it's becoming a Cold War. Both sides say not. Um, both sides say they don't want to force other countries to choose between. But in fact, both sides are pursuing policies that force countries to choose between them. It is becoming a sort of the authoritarians against the democracies. I mean, that's not good news. I wish it weren't that way, but that's the way we're going. I have to say, I think a considerable part of the blame for that falls on the Chinese. They're pursuing policies in Hong Kong, in Xinjiang province, with respect to Taiwan, in the South China Sea, that are aggressive and make a lot of other countries nervous. They're pursuing economic policies that, as I said earlier, are state controlled and moving away from market economics. And they are articulating a go it alone philosophy. Xi Jinping has been blunt about that. He said, the West is unreliable. We need to go it alone. That's a policy of separation. And here, the human rights activists are watching carefully. The people that are concerned about democracy in Hong Kong are watching carefully. There's a lot of pressure in the West to decouple, to pull apart. So, I mean, I have to say I'm a little gloomy about the trend of events. I mean, it's sand leaking out of the bag. It's not an abrupt severance, and companies will do what is in their interest to do. And if they have a substantial investment there and a substantial market there, they'll stay there. But I think increasingly they're looking at shortening their supply chains and going more regional, coming back to the Western Hemisphere. We're doing a study right now in the pharmaceutical sector on precisely that, nearshoring, looking at Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil as options. So, I mean, companies will do what's in their interest, and the United States government is not telling them, to leave, but the political risk of doing business in China has gone way up. And I think you're going to see gradual separation over time.
It seems that the Biden administration has received that message as well. There's a number of executive orders about supply chain, pharmaceutical, semiconductors, rare earth elements. That seems to be one of the things that is driving U.S. policy right now, yes?
Yes, that's right. I think the issue in the end will be how they define national security. There's not a lot of controversy about the sectors you just mentioned: critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, chips, rare earths, things like that. That is, most people agree that those have security implications. The thing to watch is that later this month, at least that's the deadline, there are 6 other studies of US economic sectors that are due to be released, and they're much bigger. They're bigger sectors: agriculture, transportation, energy, the defense industrial base. Those are the 4 I remember. Together, they're 60% of our GDP. If we start defining all of those things as essential to our security, you're talking about major changes in the way our economy is structured. I don't think they'll go that far. I think if you look at the last administration, if you were Peter Navarro, everything is related to security. I think for the Biden folks, it's going to be narrower than that. But in the end, they have to define that. They have to say what is important and what is not important. And we can't make everything. That's the reality.
Yeah, so that, obviously supply chains are still going to have a global element, but you see some of them shortening to more nearshoring when it comes to national security.
Yeah, that was happening anyway. That was even happening before Trump. I think companies were worried about volatility in transportation prices. They were worried about political risk in some countries, China being the main one, but not the only one. And a lot of them simply wanted to be near their customers. They were running into quality issues. And there's been an effort for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years to take a look at supply chains. And COVID speeded all that up, because what we learned from COVID is that we ran out of stuff and we didn't have everything we needed right when we wanted it. And the message to supply chain managers has been resilience. Don't just think about price, quality, and delivery. you have to think about not putting all your eggs in a single basket. And that pushes companies to diversify.
Right.
And the main place they're diversifying is really to shorten their supply chains and move back to this hemisphere.